So here we are. This descent has begun. Clearly, summer has left. All of that energy is gone. We've even passed the harvest, or passing that harvest time, that gathering. Samhain is come and gone. That time where you might still feel some of that, but that otherworldly quality. Maybe you've been honoring your ancestors, or even just really feeling their presence, or the presence of, our beloved deceased. This time that we've just walked through really has that otherworldly quality to it. And it can be tender, and it can be raw, and it can also be confusing if you're not really knowing what it is that you're feeling. It can be a little bit discombobulating. And it's really, we're really stepping towards solstice, where it is the longest and the darkest night of the whole year. So all of the shedding, all of that deep inner work, that shadow work, all of that is happening between now and solstice. And we're coming to the point of the year with the least energy, the most quiet time, that most introverted time, right to a pause almost. It's like a stillness, a really empty vessel. I call it the void sometimes, because we don't really know what's happening. We don't really see where we're going. Maybe things in life have really shooken up and gotten really chaotic and confusing, and things are dying off, different qualities, different, situations or ways of being or relationships. All of this dying off process is happening now as we head to this emptiness. And after that, we begin to sift our seeds and we plant again. But now we're in this descent. We're in this sometimes painful letting go. And really, the nature around us is really slowing down. The sap in the trees is right down into the earth. All the leaves have mostly blown off, so there's no energy going to any of that. It's all right down into the earth. And elementally, in the wheel that I follow, we're moving from the time of water and great emotion into this heavy earth, land energy. So sometimes that shifting can be a little bit felt in different ways. So the nights are getting longer and longer. It's getting colder and colder outside. And some of us really struggle with seasonal affected disorder with this. So it's a good time to just be really mindful that if that's you, if you struggle with this time of year, you're actually kind of in alignment with what's going on, as uncomfortable as that might be. It is that uncomfortable time, letting things go. And we're in that time where the salmon are spawning and dying, but we're not quite all the way into winter yet. The winter eagles haven't come. So it's a long, slow descent, and I think our weather is showing us this right now. We haven't had a lot of stormy action. We have had some. There's been some, early snow and some bitter wind, but really it's not as chaotic as normal, and so it might even feel a little bit drawn out, so if you're looking at your inner world and your inner life, or what you're experiencing in your day-to-day, you might feel like whatever it is you're experiencing is sort of drawing out a little bit, kind of taking its time, but it gives you the opportunity to really sit with it and really give yourself the time to address it for once and for all. Because whatever is coming up, often if we're not clearing it out or letting it die off when it wants to or when it should, we're just going to experience it again and again. And so we really want to take the time with this time of year to draw on all the supports of nature, to really okay, now's the time. Let's let this die off. Let's let this go now. let's step into that dark unknowing, that mystery of like, oh, I don't really know where this is going, but that's okay. And the moon right now is also lending some of this descent energy. So last week was a full moon. It was all this completion and fullness and, bright. It was really beautifully bright out. It was lit up. You didn't need a lantern or anything. And next week is the new moon. So it's in its dark time, and it's emptiness right before the things begin to grow again. So, if the moon, I say this all the time, if the moon pulls the tides in and out, women menstruate, according to the moon, this kind of thing, where bodies are made up of mostly water, so we can be sure that what the moon is doing is also having an effect on us, whether we know it or not. So it's also lending to this descent or this moving into the darkness right now. So if you're looking at your day-to-day life, you might see that things are acting up or falling apart or moving and shifting in some way, something that is drawing your attention or stuck in your awareness. Like I said, maybe it's just ways of being or your living situations or patterns in life that you've had. Some kind of dynamics with relationships or how you are in the world. And so this can give us a clue, for many there's a theme or an essence underneath the situation at hand. There's an energy that is, perhaps you can track it back farther in life, this deep underneath the surface. So not the person, not the place, but the quality or the energy that is actually afoot. And that's our clue as to what your work is this winter. So if you're able to take a look at what you're experiencing in the sort of tangible, mundane, day-to-day life, and then look at what theme is actually afoot, then that gives you a good clue as to what your personal deep work is as you're stepping into this time of self-reflection, inner working into that darkness. So it's always, I personally appreciate knowing what is happening rather than just feeling a little like, wow, life is hard right now, or so we step into winter and we've got family dynamics coming into things and, lots of activities to engage in, and yet there's this pull, there's something deeper, there's something more personal afoot instead. So there's lots of opportunity for clearing and emptying and releasing and doing our shadow work and looking in the mirror and tending to our deep, deep soul needs and analyzing and really getting to know ourselves. This is the time of year for that. In summertime, you're outward going and you're busy and you're active and you're doing. This is all the opposite. So like I was saying before about how sometimes, what we're experiencing at this time of year in our day-to-day lives, even though the situation might be unique or different, often you can find an underlying theme or a root essence that is resurfacing again for you to take care of this time and to really work on and really heal. And it's pretty easy in our left brain logical thinking mind to be like, oh, it's this, whatever it is, whatever the theme is. I know what this is about. But there's often just a deeper current, something that's just out of our awareness or just out of our conscious thought process. What is truly, truly at the root of whatever it is we're experiencing and going through today. And you might, again, all the different ways that it might show up, but you might even be shown or feel out just how it's relevant to different situations that you've lived through. You might end up having a really great timeline and being like, oh, that's what all this is about. And then you have kind of a different layer, a different way of working rather than simply on the surface day to day, disgruntled with your neighbor kind of situation. Maybe it's a real, boundary or issue or infringement, trauma, that kind of thing that maybe stems from childhood, right? And so what happens is in my experience anyways, I don't want to say it's going to be all the time for everybody, but from what I see and what I witness, it seems like we all have at least one particular major challenge in life that just shows up in all these different ways until we really get it and really heal that. And then even after we heal it, it might just show up to test us in slightly different, so if you have a particular, getting maybe bullied by authority figures or something, right? And that seems to be sort of this theme of like you're healing this sort of creating boundaries around not having that show up anymore. Then you might find that, younger people or your children start doing it. You know what I mean? So it might just take form to kind of keep you on your toes a little bit, right? But really, really making sure that you really can identify it and see it faster and deal with it faster. So even though we might do all of this work, it might not just never show up again. We might just see it faster and have more tools to deal with it and be like, oh, here's that same element over here. Oh yeah, there it is, And so the idea is to really get really adept at tracking that and processing it or moving it or responding to it in healthier ways so that it doesn't completely destroy your day or your week or your year anymore. You're just able to identify that.